Hello, welcome to the first PGN Dunkley of the year. Happy New Year to you, belatedly, from all of us, from Paul and I. Paul, the 4x Naps champion, joins us every week. He's back again. Paul, how's it going?
Yeah, good, very good indeed.
It's going to be a good weekend of racing. Of course, this week the Cheltenham Festival entries have all come out, but we're taking a bit of a step back from Cheltenham. We've been talking about it a fair bit in the office. In fact, truth be told, at the moment I'm a little bit sick of Cheltenham talk, and I just want to step back and I want to focus on this fantastic racing on the weekend. We've got the Lanzarote Hurdle and the Classic Chase at Warwick, the Lanzarote Hurdle at Kempton. We're going to dive straight into the Lanzarote Hurdle. The going pool currently is soft. The forecast says there's going to be a bit of cloud on Friday, more rain Saturday morning. How do you think that's going to affect the makeup of the race?
It's going to be a really good test, isn't it, Dunkers? And you know, at the time of writing, there are probably only about 4 or 5 horses in the field that really want it deep. And they normally race over this 2 mile 5 at a really good pace. And I know Kempton dries out really quickly. It's a really good draining track, being on basically sand-based under soil. But I think this is going to be a real test of stamina. But to be fair, there are 2 or 3 unexposed horses here you give a huge chance to. I know we were talking in the office about T for 2 and Nick Williams' charge. And it's really bad to sort of generalise about stables horses, but as is typical of Nick Williams, he's not the greatest jumper of a hurdler all the time. He's gone up massively in the weights for his victory last time out, and at the top of the market, I mean, I really want to oppose T for 2. Now, we actually had a bit of a tete-a-tete in the office, and you said, yeah, his hurdling is a worry. And there is the other side of the coin, that in a race where they go that little bit quicker, his hurdling may improve, but it's just not typical of a Nick Williams charge, and I would want to be against this 6-year-old.
Especially at 6 to 1. I mean, he's far too short.
Yeah.
Paul, what about Warrenter? Done everything asked of him so far. 2 wins from 2 starts. The final penalty at Market Raisin. Is it just a bit of a question mark over the track?
Could be the track. He looks a real galloper. I think for me, he's the most inviting of those at the top of the market. I think 8 to 1 is almost an each way bet to nothing. Have a look at his last 2 pieces of form when he beat Arzal at Chepstow. Arzal made a really bad mistake at the final flight, but I think he would have gone close to beating him. The 2nd, the 3rd and the 5th have won since. Then he goes on to out-gallop the opposition at Market Raisin over an extra 3 furlongs. The 2nd and the 5th have gone on to win since. So the extra 2 furlongs here, definitely in his favour. He's got to be improving still. Warren Graycheck's described as being a real horse, and Warren's stable in really good form. And I think he's still got room to manoeuvre off a mark of 1.35, and he'll be suited by the fast pace. Because if it becomes a deep test of stamina, this horse, I think, Dunkers will stay 3 miles, then this is what he wants. And yeah, there are some horses at the top of the weights that are classy but relatively exposed compared to this young horse, and you know, he's by Turtle Island, so we know he loves the soft ground, and he'll relish more rain. I think he's the value at 8 to 1. I really do.
Definitely, I think he's definitely value at 8 to 1. Any shorter would put me off a little bit, because I'm going to go for a horse who is very exposed, admittedly. Up £18 for his Haydock win, Kilcooley, right at the head of the weights. If you look at who he's been running against, he ran against the new one, Sign of a Victory, Lamy Surge. He was 6 lengths off Lamy Surge.
He deserves his mark. There's no doubt about it.
He definitely deserves his mark.
Yeah.
The step up to 2 mile 4 was really the making of him. On heavy ground as well, so there's no ground question. He's a general 8 to 1, but 10s with 888 if you're quick. So definitely get on that if you value my opinion. And I think he has a really big chance. I think he has a really big chance for the frame. Not quite sure about the win. And that is about that for me.
He's a real galloper, isn't he? But you know, I just think £20 to give away to Warrenter, sort of weighing it up. I know Warrenter has got to step up again. I just think it's a little bit too much.
I think if Kilcooley wins this, he's not going to be running listed handicap hurdles, is he? No. Quick word on Dawalan as well. Ken, good at entry?
Yeah, and Henderson's got a load in here, and Barry Geraghty apparently is his first booking for Dawalan, and he won nicely last time out. I think he's got a kink. I think he's a bit of a character. I'm not saying he's not got the ability to win off a mark of 142. I think he probably has. But I also get the feeling that he wants plenty to go his way. I think he can win off this mark. But I'd be more reliant on Warrenter. The other one I wanted to mention was Saffron Wells, trained by Neil King. who needed his first run last time, ran a good third and a pretty hot handicap last time out, only 12 days ago, so I'm hoping that hasn't taken the edge off him. I think he can still win off a mark of 135, but I'm really keen on Warrantor. I think he's a novice going places.
And 8 to 1 available at the moment. You can compare all the prices on easyodds.com, so definitely do that and find yourself some value. The second race we're going to be talking about is the Classic Chase at Warwick. The going currently there is soft. There's a lot more rain to go there, Paul. It's probably going to go off heavy because there's some torrential rain expected on a Friday and Saturday. The question I have to put to you, Mr. Jacobs, why are Connections running Shotgun Paddy 14 days after he was pulled up in the Warwick?
Well, there's 3 or 4 in here who are running very quickly after having hard races last time out. And we could get the smallest field for a long time in the Warwick Classic.
There's only 16 at the moment declared with non-runners to come.
We could get single figures here, you know. We could get single figures here, and I fancy maybe at this stage before they're all taken out, and I don't have a strong view on this race. Maybe having a small each way bet on Dark Glacier from the Peter Bowen yard I think is better than he's shown in his last few outings, but it's not a race I'm going to invest in. I'd rather have a meaty bet in the Lanzarote than the Classic Chase, and I think it's quite a difficult race to weigh up until we know the decks.
Exactly, there are some extremely exposed horses in here. One I was interested in, and apparently the rest of the betting community, is Return Spring.
Yeah.
Seems like he's been laid out for this. He has only had 3 runs over fences. He hasn't set the world alight, but he's really, really strong stays. I think he's going to love 3.5. He nearly ran down Sausalito Sunrise behind King's Palace at Cheltenham last time. I think he's probably about the right price actually, considering he's been a heavy market mover in the past few days. He's about 5 to 1 at the moment.
Stable continuing good, Nick, as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Philip Hobbs' team, although they did have an odds-on shot turned over yesterday, but they also had a winner as well, so it kind of evens out. I completely agree. It's not a race that I'm going to have a bet in. I think Shotgun Paddy, depending on his place price, might be worth a lay. Maybe for 4 places, because I don't think he's a horse who's going to. They're not going to fight for him to get that 1 position better. No. So if he doesn't finish in the frame, he's not going to get.
Although it's worth saying that Shotgun Paddy was pulled up fairly early in the Welsh Wrestle, so he's a horse that maybe arrives here a little bit fresher than we think. But you know what? It's just you know, when you look at a race anti-post, you look at the make and the shape of it. It's just something I didn't really want to be involved in at this stage. Come Saturday, it could be a different story.
Well, that was the Classic Chase at Warwick. We're now going to move on to reflections in running. I'm going to join in this week with a couple of my own, but first, Paul...
You've got some really strong views. I mean, there have been a number of really poor rides this week
there have been some terrible
that we've seen. And, you know, it's okay when you're sitting in the stands and you can criticise them from your armchair, but those who've ridden a horse before will know that, well, some of the rides have been absolutely, truly awful. I know there's one horse you really want to showcase.
And we're going to get to that, but first we've got to go through yours, Paul. Going to start with John Reel from the David Evans stable. 11 length win at Wolves, then a Class 2 win at Lingfield. He's a stayer with potential.
Yeah, and he's going to go for the all-weather championships. It just depends whether he goes for the 1.5 miler or the 2 miler. David Evans probably hasn't had a horse this good for ages. He's a 6-year-old, but he's only raced 10 times, and 3 of those have been over hurdles, and 3 of those have been in bumpers. So in reality, on the flat, he's only raced 4 times. And the way he mowed down Energia Fox last time out over 12 furlongs in that race you mentioned, I think was really impressive. Off not a mightily fast pace. It wasn't slow, it wasn't fast, it was a nice even gallop. And there's more to come from him. He's a big horse, powerful galloper. Great ride by John Egan, the veteran Irishman. And I think we'll hear more from John Reel. Let's put this out into the ether. I wonder if David Evans had thought about the flat season on the turf. I wonder if he's going to try and get him up to a mark, and he's got to go up by another, 12, maybe 12 pound stone, and get him in the E-ball. I wonder if the E-ball might be a long-term aim for John Reel.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think he could be in that.
I haven't checked his form, Paul. What's he like on the turf? Has he done much?
Well, he's on the turf. He's on soft ground at Southwell before. He acts on the turf, no problem at all, and he acts on all types of ground. He's got quite nice fluent action. But that'd be interesting to see how David campaigns him after the winter season is done.
Wouldn't that be an audacious double? The all-weather championships
and the E-ball.
I
Wonder what price you get on that.
Now we're moving on to Elite Freedom, who ran in a Class 7 at Wolves. Is not a good horse. He's just a poor filly. but Paul Mulrennan gave her a shocker.
Well, she is. She's an awful filly, quite frankly. And it was an awful race she ran in when the odds-on favourite Zarglass won. But she wasn't put in the race by Paul Mulrennan. She's only had a handful of races on the all-weather 6. She's not from 6 with 1/3. But she's dropped from a mark of 62 down to 45. I anticipate she'll obviously run in a Class 7 race again next time. And if she gets the run of the race, I think she'll go very close. I'd actually like to see Brian Boff actually bring her back from 7 to 6 furlongs. And ride her a bit more progressively than Paul Mulrennan rode her last time. It was the first time Paul was on her. But I think she can still win a little race. And the big thing with her will be the marketplace, because the stable back the horses when they fancy him. So don't give up on Elite Freedom. She may be poor, rather like me, but she can win a race.
Even the worst horse can win a race.
Absolutely.
And speaking of which, Benalong, not the worst horse in the world, but was running in a Lingfield cellar and showed there is definite life in the old boy.
Yeah, 82 runs under rules. He's had the old Chapo, 9 years of age, and there's one key to this horse. He needs a fast pace, because it was amazing how he was pulling Amir Quinn's arms out from the very start, literally to the 2 furlong pole. And although he ran on really well behind Le Gargan, he just couldn't get to the leader. He needs to be towed along. That was over 10 furlongs. I think he's a better horse, you know, Dunkers, over 8 furlongs at Kempton. That's where his last 3 wins have come.
He's going to get the faster pace in those kind of races.
And he could. I think he's going to be dropped to a mark of 58, and that's very enticing. You know he's no world beater, but in the right class off his current mark, he can win a fast run 8 furlongs, preferably at Kempton, but he acts around Lingfield. He's a definite winner in the very near future.
Well, I can't wait to back him next time.
Yeah.
Now, the horse I'm going to talk about first is Cadmium. Which I have to stress, I did not back this horse. I was watching as a completely impartial spectator. Received one of the worst rides I've ever seen from Leanne Avery. Sorry, she was banned for 10 days for it. She never put the horse in the race. The horse didn't break as well as it could have, so it was immediately back. She dived in behind, holding him up. Didn't look at nothing. She didn't even comprehend what was going on up front, and the leader got away. By the time she started riding, it was too late. Shot home, finished down the field, but should have finished in the frame at the very least. I don't know if you saw the race.
I saw the race. That begs the question: would the stewards have called in a senior jockey if they had been riding this horse? I reckon they wouldn't have. I think they've made an example of her. I mean, quite rightly, she's been banned. There's no doubt about it. But if that had been run by Richard Hughes, would it have happened?
I don't
guarantee
think so, no.
No, it wouldn't. And that's why we need professional stewards, and we need them now.
But going back to the horse, there's much better to come from her. She notched a double earlier at Kempton. Back at Kempton, I think she's definitely one to follow, and I think her price is only going to be a tasty one next time. And I'm going to go slightly unorthodox for this one.
Well, you are rather unorthodox, aren't you?
I am, really.
Which is fair enough.
I'm going over to an American race I saw yesterday. It's a growing market in here that people who enjoy betting on racing might turn on the TV, see a race at Tampa Bay, and think, that's quite interesting. I looked at a bit of the form. I think I'll have a punt. There was a favourite in the first yesterday called Antoine's, who was back down to 6-5 favourite for 5-2. On the exchanges, he was 2-1. He was wildly unfancied and drifting all the way to post time. Broke very poorly. Was held up by Harry Vega. Then made a colossal amount of ground to challenge 9 wide into the turn, and he didn't even pick up his whip. He rode out like he was riding a piece of work. And I only bring it up because if you're betting on these American races, there is no non-triers rule. And that is unbelievable to comprehend for a system of racing that we have, but there is no non-triers rule. A trainer can put a horse in, say he will need the run, ride him, don't win on him, basically. So next time his odds will go higher and we'll have a good old punt. So if you're watching American racing, if you're a keen bettor on American racing, really think about the connections, because the same connections do the same thing over and over again. And watch out for Harry Vega, because I have no confidence in him after that. Right.
Okay, good one.
That's PG and Dunkley for another week. Tune in next week when we're going to give you more reflections in running, and I think we're going to have to go back to Cheltenham when a few more clues have come out of the Lanzarote Hurdle and the Classic Chase. Have a great punting weekend.